Coffee with Caregivers production costs are covered by a partnership with United Healthcare and the National Foster Parent Association. We receive no federal or state funding and depend on our constituents and viewers to help us achieve our goals to provide support and services that meet identified needs within our mission. We would like to welcome the viewers of Coffee with Caregivers to the family. The National Foster Parent Association offers several membership opportunities for individuals, child placing agencies, and state and local affiliates. You can join today or donate at nfpaonline.org.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's really good to be with you again. Some of you know Coffee with Caregivers is something that we do on every Tuesday, and I know I sure look forward to the time that we can spend with you and our guests. We've had a really challenging last 10 days, though, around this country because of weather, and I live in Texas, and boy, have we been hit hard. I mean, our experience here is we haven't had weather like this in many ways, according to our historians and our weather historians, in over 100 years. It's been extremely difficult for many, many families. We've had ice and then snow and then ice again, single-digit weather with temperatures with minus 15 wind chills, teens at several nights as well, hard freezes, and we're at about 170 hours of straight below freezing temperatures, which just never happens here. And when we had snow on January 10th in much of the state, we were like, that was 3 inches, right, where we were. And it was like, wow, another historic snowfall for Texas, at least central Texas. And, we had a few accidents on the highway and things, but it only lasted a couple of days, and it was all melted and gone. And it was icy snow like we typically get. But this last time around, when it hit, we had a lot of ice first, so that froze, and stayed that way for almost 4 days. And then the really big weather came in, and we had 7 inches of snow right where we live, and other parts in our area of central Texas had 11 inches, that kind of thing. And it was this soft, wonderful, light, powdery snow that is so much fun to play in. And my children were sending pictures of my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, playing in the snow, making snow angels, getting up and not being full of ice, because that's the type of snow we've had in the past where we've tried to do those things, making some wonderful snowmen, but getting back out of that cold pretty quick because it was, like I say, in the teens, right? And we're not used to that. And everybody had red cheeks and runny noses. So, oh my goodness, who knows what the next week's going to be with colds. But during all this, so many people lost electric power and really froze up water pipes. Water plant generators burned up because they were working so hard. So then there wasn't an energy problem anymore. It was just the equipment was ruined. So we had points where over half the state didn't have any electricity, and the same with not having any water. And for many days in a row, extended periods of time, we have some areas with the water systems that they're saying is still going to maybe be another week or so before they can get these generators and pumps and things in. And this morning we actually got a water boil order for Austin, Texas. So something messed up with the water system, even though we've had water where we live pretty much the whole time. But when you think about people who can't get out, um, they didn't plan very well. They didn't have food supplies. They didn't have food that wouldn't perish without their refrigerators. And they couldn't go anywhere because the streets are so iced up that you couldn't drive. Everything was uh, closed up. The grocery stores are closed. Everything was closed, and they needed to close because they couldn't get their trucks in to bring in new supplies. Really, a sad situation. We actually heard yesterday of a baby that formula had to have distilled water, and they couldn't get anywhere. They couldn't get anybody to answer phones anywhere, even if they could find somebody who had still distilled water left. And my oldest daughter heard that. She called me and she said, "Mama, I know how you are. You you usually have some extra of everything. Would you by any chance have a gallon of distilled water?" I mean, they know that my husband uses a CPAP machine and we have distilled water around here. And I said, "Well, not inside, I don't, but out in the detached garage, I think there is a gallon out there. It may be frozen solid, but I think it's there. If we can get out there and if we can get the garage door to open, um, we'll give the water. That's easy. It's just how do we get it over there?" And so she said, "Don't worry, I will get that figured out." And they did. And when she got back over here after getting the water and taking it to this family, she came in and she said, "Mama, I should have videoed the lady, but I didn't want to because I didn't want to embarrass her." But she just cried and cried and cried that somebody cared enough to make the effort to make sure her baby had what it needed. Um, those, little acts of kindness that are really nothing, are huge to everybody else. And my friend Rhonda Scortino always talks about random acts of kindness, and that kindness is love in action, and it is. Um, so I hope that if you've been affected by the weather this last couple of weeks, that you've been able to practice some of those acts of kindness, and that if you needed things that you weren't able to have, that others practice their kindness on you, because we have to look out for one another. That's just the way it is. But one of the things that I saw on Facebook when we had powered up battery on my laptop was a picture that friend sent from Galveston, Texas, on the Gulf Coast, and it was an incredible picture of a beach just covered in snow, and then all these sailboats that were in dock that were just covered in sheets of ice and icicles hanging off of all the masts and everything. And then somebody put on a comment about, "Boy, I'd rather be on a beach in Hawaii somewhere than where we are now." And so, I said, "Boy, what I do," because we have been blessed to be there, and it's a beautiful place and it's nice and warm. Um, but it was my inspiration for my cup today. And it's not a traditional cup like I usually have, but it's something I picked up myself when we were in Hawaii, I think the last time. And it just says, I'm always so bad about how do I do this? Good vibes only. And then I'll assign. Um, and so that's what we're trying to practice right now around here is good vibes only, because Lord knows we've all had too many of the negative ones in our lives in this last year, and now like year and a half almost. So we are going to move on because I've talked too much.
Yeah.
But I missed being around y'all and missed the interaction. So we are, again, blessed to have two guests on our show today. And I'm going to be introducing you to Maurita and Jodi. Hi.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
So, ladies, I'm going to tell the audience that we're going to talk about something that's really important to y'all and to me, and I hope to many of the families that are watching, and to those staff that work with families and youth in care. But we're going to talk about the importance of families making commitments to youth even after they're 18,
Mm-hmm.
because life goes on.
Yeah.
And, you know, my kids all needed us past the age of 18. And they, good Lord, they're 49 and 50 years old now. They still need us. So, it's it's not, well, they do. I mean, the oldest daughter and her tribe came, 7 of them, yes, last night, when they were getting the water. Well, all of them stayed, and they took showers and washed their hair, and we loaded up many jugs of water, because they had no water and they had no electricity, and they stunk when they walked in, and they went out smelling wonderful. And so I had more fun telling them, I'm not going to hug you when you come in, but I'll be happy to hug you when you leave. We had lots of fun last night. And so you know it's the times that we live in, and how we can make fun for everybody. And my grandchildren in this family, the oldest is 20, she's 28 now, and her spouse was here, and then the 19-year-old and the 16-year-old, and their friend who's 19, and he had to have a shower too. And my daughter and her husband. So I mean, we had a camp here. So while they got clean, I filled water jugs for a long time, and dished up some things to eat too for snacks. But so there are some good things that happen during these periods of time, and I wouldn't give up those interactions with my family for anything, as y'all wouldn't either. But before we really get into talking about what do we mean about making a commitment to kids past 18, I do want you each to introduce yourselves and tell our audience, what you're comfortable sharing about yourselves and what you think is important that they know. And then we'll really get and talk about your cups, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of your story.
That sounds good. Well, I'm Maurita McCorkle, and I've been a foster parent here in North Carolina for about 20 years. Currently, I help young adults that are aging out of foster care. We have 7 living in the house with us today. So we have a full house, but we have a lot that are still in the community. I think one of the biggest things that's important to me is creating stability, even when they're not in the home, and still being a good sounding board for them, a place where they know they can come and cry to. I had one that called me this week and said, I just need to go to lunch with you or dinner with you. So I went and had dinner with her yesterday. Those types of things where they just kind of need a mom sometimes, or a dad sometimes. My husband has kind of stepped into that role as well. But it's really important that we realize that the young adults that are coming through the system, that they often don't have a really solid place to go. Even if their families are still alive, still supporting them and helping them and loving them and encouraging them and being there for them has been a really important thing. And Jodi's going to share a little bit about how I've done that with her. Jodi and I have known each other for 12 years. So it's really hard to believe. Has it been 12 or 11? Because you're 29 now, right?
Right.
So it's been 11 years. She came to me when she was 18. And so we're going to tell a little bit about how the ups and downs, the roller coasters of life that we've been through, and just the stability that I've been able to help to provide some of that, some not so good stability, some not so bad stability. So in my cup, it's probably hard to read. It says blessings are everywhere because it's really dark, but blessings are everywhere. And that's one of the things that I have to rest upon, because it gets really challenging. It gets really challenging with this age group because they know better. We don't know good. We don't know anything, and they know better than we do. But sometimes you just have to sit back and let them know better and make their decisions and see the blessings that come on the other side of it, because it may not look like the blessings we think they should get, nor does it look like the blessings they should get. But they're always there. And we just have to keep our eyes open for them.
Yep. My name is Jodi. My cup says, you are loved. My mom gave me this cup to remind me how much I'm loved by her. Like she said, I've been with her for about 11 years. Even though I only stayed with her for about 4 or 5 months, she's been, I mean, one of the biggest support roles that I've ever had in my life. I mean, good, bad, funny, sad. I mean, she's there no matter what. And that's the biggest thing that I think that kids need. I mean, I'm 29, almost 30 years old, and I'm still a kid, you know. I think, you know, everybody just needs that one person, whether it's a mom, a friend. You know, sometimes people think she's my sister, you know. So whether it's somebody, you know, we all just need somebody. And she's been that person for me. So
we were
I'm glad to
joking
have her.
earlier about how when she turned 21, I usually take my young adult out when they turn 21 to have like a special drink or whatever. I got carded. She did not when she turned 21. So we always pick on how they always I'm the one that gets carded and she doesn't. And I got plenty of years on her.
You know, just means you look young and attractive to everybody. You know, that's a good thing, huh? Yeah. Well, I wish I had that problem, but I don't.
Awesome, Irene.
Oh Lord. Anyway, well, so let's talk about your story. You know, and again, what you're comfortable in talking about is what you can share, and things that you don't think is anybody else's business, that it's not, right? So fair game, and you know, I hope that this will have a lot of meaning to folks that are watching, and maybe some who haven't decided to have teens join their family, right? Because they're scared or afraid of what'll happen. We fostered for 27 years, and the last 10 were all teenagers. And I always loved the little ones and, you know, all that. But when we really started into with the teenagers, it was like, man, I know they, you know, I love that they can have a conversation. They can talk about things. Yeah, they yell at me a lot and they cuss me out. And they're bigger than me sometimes, and they tell me they're going to slug me or, you know, kill me or whatever. None of them ever did. So, you know, but all talk and no do, you know, and I used to get right back at you're all talking, no do. And so, oh, well, yeah, I guess it was. But it's all in how you approach one's personality. You know, you learn about that. And so I'm excited to hear about y'all's adventure. We always call them adventures. And but I always know that I learned so much more from each of those wonderful human beings that I ever think I ever gave them. And they helped make me wise in so many ways that helped with the next one, right?
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And so I'm eternally grateful to every one of them. Like you said, sometimes a really long, hard road to get where we got, but it was worth it all on every one of them.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's hear it.
All right. So I came into foster care for the first time. I think I was probably about 11 or 12. Stayed in foster care briefly. I think it was just a few months over the summer. My stepmom kicked me and my brother out of the house at, I think it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night because we were arguing. Like I said, I was like 11, 12 years old. So that's how I got in foster care the first time. They ended up getting, my stepmom and my dad ended up getting us back. And then again, when I was 13, or no, I was probably about 15 when I came back into foster care. I had a child when I was 15. And then So not too long after I had him, I came into foster care. I was pregnant again. Before I turned 16, I was pregnant again. And so for my first house, I was with a family, and they didn't really like the idea of, having a 16-year-old that had a child and was pregnant. And so I didn't stay there long. And then I went to a maternity home. And about 3 days after I had my second child, they kicked me out and sent me to another home. And so at that home, that I was there for quite a while. And it was like, finally I found a home. They were like perfect family. I blended in so well. My kids were doing great. And then the mom, I'm not sure why, was really uncomfortable with me breastfeeding. And so that was like the first instant, where we just clashed. And so from there, it was like it just snowballed downhill. And I mean, we would be doing fine. And then all of a sudden, she would get upset about different things. I mean, little things that I thought of. But anyway, so she was, like I say, in cahoots with my stepmom. My stepmom had always tried to get my oldest son. She basically wanted my kids without me. She wanted to be able to take care of my kids and push me to the side. But in her words, she didn't want to deal with me. And so her and my foster mom at the time were really close. I mean, they talked on the phone day, night. And, with the abandonment issues that I already had, it's like, okay, now I have this perfect family that, I like, they like me. And now she's working with my stepmom to try to get my kids from me. So when I turned 18, about a week before I turned 18, the foster mom was like, don't worry about it. When you go to court, we're going to tell them that, you can stay here for as long as you want. You're our family. And basically, so I didn't find another, because my social worker told me to find another plan for me and my kids when I turned 18 to have stable housing for us to go to and da, da, da. So when I was trying to do all those things, she was telling me, don't worry about it. We got you. You're going to stay here. So the day before my 18th birthday, I had court. And so I get to court thinking everything's fine. I'm good. I have a family. I have a house. Me and my kids are going to be great. So I get to court and they tell me that the family wants me to leave and that they want my kids to stay because I don't have stable housing for them. So, obviously I'm heartbroken, but, I was like, okay, left court. On the way back to the house, my social worker gets a phone call and she's like, well, they don't want you to stay the night because they're scared, you're going to take off with the kids or you're going to hurt them or whatever. And so she stopped by, got my kids from daycare, gave me 5 minutes to pack my things and tell my kids bye. So they took me to another foster home.
What? That's criminal. Flat out criminal.
Oh God. So then I went to another foster home and it was I liked it there. She was a really known and respected foster parent around the area. And her daughter cleaned houses. And so she, would take me to work with her and that's, how to get money for things that I needed. And I volunteered at my kids' daycare so that way I could see them every day. Not too long. I mean, that didn't last too long, and the foster parents stopped that from happening. And so from all of the things that I had been through, at that point, I was uncomfortable. So at that point, I was uncomfortable being around men. And not that, the foster dad really did anything to me to make me feel that way. But there were just different things that would trigger me. And so I needed to get away from there. And so that's when I came to my mom's house. And I wasn't with her, long, as we already said, but it was just like the first day. It was like the first day that I met her. And the first time that she hugged me, it was like, wow, like, I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, people say, like, home isn't a place, it's, your heart. And like when I hugged my mom, it was like, I'm home, And so I was really depressed and stuff, and part of my CARS agreement was that I either get a job or go to school. And I tried. I really, really tried. I tried going to school, but throughout throughout going to school, I was always pushed through school, with everything going on at home, and going through foster care and this house and that house. It was like I never could get it. Like I was great in social studies, language arts, all that, but math, I couldn't do it. I'm dyslexic with numbers, and it was just like I never had anybody to want to sit down and help me. So, I got tired of going to school. I mean, throughout the whole time I was in foster care, I went to like 8 different community colleges, trying to do it. And I gave up on it. So then I got a job, and my boss, he was a foreign man or whatever, but he was making passes at me at work, and I'm 18, going through all this crap, and I'm just like, what is next? So I quit there, and then I don't know, somehow, some way, it came to the attention of what was her position?
Depression. Jodi got to a point where she couldn't even get out of bed. Basically, she couldn't get out of bed to get a job. She couldn't get out of bed to get to school. And I mean, she was going through the removal of her kids, going through all of this stuff that she was having to do. And it just like her world was just completely falling apart.
And they were messing with my medication.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to get me on a stable dose, and I just couldn't. Yeah.
And we went to court.
Yeah.
So they have to go to court every 6 months in North Carolina for what they called their CARS agreement. We don't do that anymore, but they had to remain in housing or in a school or have a job in order to maintain their CARS agreement. And, they knew that we were working on both with her, but we went to court and they immediately just pulled the carpet out from under everything and told her that they were removing her from the CARS agreement. And we got home from court that day.
I mean, immediately.
The social worker was at my door, and they had removed all of the other kids that were in my care at the time. And which caused a lot of trauma on those kids, because those kids got put into another foster home, and basically told me that I had the option of either bringing those kids back in or keeping Jodi in my home. And so Jodi and I had to have long discussion about it, and she went and stayed with a neighbor for a little while, but then we ended up having to put Jodi in a homeless shelter from there in order to
But all of that
support.
happened, I feel like, because of the person who was over our case. She felt like we were too close, and it's how close is too close. I'm lost, and she knows, and she's trying to help me, and it's basically her job, to help me work things. And now you're saying that our bond is too much, and so it was like, I felt like she wanted to end that.
It was personal.
I mean, it was very personal.
It was hard.
Yeah, and even my therapist at the time shared information with her that she shouldn't have, and it was just, people say, I think people are out to get me, but people really were out to get me as a teen mom. Like, I had all these my stepmom, the foster parents, all these people in the foster care program, that really wanted to hurt me. I mean, I don't know if that was their intention, was to hurt me, but they wanted to take things away from me instead of helping me achieve these things, showing me what to do. They were just like, nope, nope, no.
But one of the things that we did through this, yes, we put her into that homeless shelter, but through that, she and I continued to communicate on a regular basis. We set goals. We continued to work towards the things that she needed to do. She eventually got her sons back for a period of time, and we worked through that as well, just trying to do different things. They ended up going back into foster care after a while, but I'd like to just kind of talk about some of the successes and some of the things that we've done through the years, if you want to kind of share that.
Yeah. So when I went into the homeless shelter, she got me a phone, so I could keep in contact with her. She was, paying my phone bill for me. She would come by, every once in a while, and we'd go to lunch, or, she would help me go apply for jobs, or, whatever. And so eventually I did find a job, and started doing really well. And then she helped me get a car, and helped me get a house. And, then I got my kids back. But, just normal foster parents would have just, okay, you're gone, see you later, but she was like, would not let me go. She's like calling me, are you okay? What do you need? And even if it's not, do you need me to get you something to eat? It's like, do you need to talk? Do you need me to pray for you? Do you want to go to church with me? What do you need? And that was the biggest thing for me, was finally having one person who wasn't going anywhere. Even if I tried. I mean, I've tried. Trust me, I've tried.
Yeah.
I've tried pushing her away a lot. And she just...
You were talking about that cussing earlier, the tearing you up.
Oh, yeah.
I've tried, but she didn't leave at all. And over the years, I mean, anything that I've ever needed, anything, she has tried her best, no matter what, to make sure that either I could get it or I had the resources to get it. And that's just that's how a normal family is supposed to be, but for foster kids, we don't have that. We don't have, a mom or a dad who knows what to do or knows, what we need. They don't even know what we need. And so how are we supposed to know what we need if our parents don't know what we need, And, to have a foster parent that doesn't care what diagnosis you have or how hateful you can be or how depressed you are, like, I don't care, I'm here. I got you, Yeah.
Well, I'm just sorry it took you to be 18 years old before you found her. Right?
Trust me, I know.
I always think, timing is usually never what we want it to be, right? But it's what it needs to be.
Exactly.
And what God's plan is out there for us. So when you did find the right mama, you found her. And
Yeah, I sure did.
I can tell just by watching the two of you, this is going to be lifelong. And just as it is for my daughter Rhonda and I, how you were treated in care by the system and by people you should have been able to trust. It's just well, I know there's nothing that's supposed to be unforgivable, but some things are unforgivable.
Yeah.
How do you do that to a young person who has struggled their whole life just to live, right? To be with nobody really trying to help you be the best of who you are.
Exactly.
One of the things that Irene, I really want to encourage parents out there about is to hold on, because it's hard. It's hard for these young adults, and they're going to take it out on you, and they take it out on you because they know that you're safe. They don't take it out on you because they hate you. They may say that they hate you. They may say the cuss words. They may say that they want to cut you up. They may say they want to beat you up. They're going to. There is no may about it. They're going to. I don't know that I've had any young adult in my home that hasn't threatened me or said something like that to me at one stage or another. And it's because they start to feel safe. It's not because
Absolutely.
they're trying to push you away because they're afraid of that safety, but they also know that you're going to continue to be there even if they get that way, or that's what they're trying to get you to, is to still stick by them, even though they've got that attitude and have that.
Well, most foster kids, we're so used to being thrown around. It's just, it comes to a point to where you're like, either they're gonna move me or love me, and you just get to the point to where you almost try to test to see how far somebody will go, to see if they actually care about you, and so when you do start to get comfortable, you're like, well, let's see how much they really care,
Right.
and yeah, I mean, for other foster parents, I would say, you wouldn't kick your own kid out at 18, so why would you do it to a foster kid? We need love too.
And they need stability for the long haul. There's no way that they can, at the age of 18, be able to be out there and on their own. I mean, heck, at 52, well, I'll be 52 next week. At 52, I still struggle from time to time with stability. I think we all do.
Don't
it's
we?
just part of
That's
life.
right.
And there's
different
no
stages
way.
of our lives. There's different things that come up, and we have to wonder how we're going to get through this now.
With
and that's
COVID
true.
and everything that's going on with that, it's even more difficult. It's more difficult for young adults to get the jobs. It's harder for them to get any kind of support and backing, and it's this environment that we're in today makes it even more challenging. And we think it's challenging on us as adults. I can't imagine being a youth trying to walk through some of these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because, like, for me, with as many young adults that I have in my home, one of the things my dad often says to me, because they're working out there, they're working at McDonald's, they're working at Walmart, they're working around all these places where you can be around anybody.
Yeah.
And I've got 7 of them living in my home, going out there working in these jobs and coming here, and he's just astounded that we haven't had any kind of COVID or any kind of sickness or anything like that in our home. But you know, we've got to continue to love and bless these young adults, even if the environment is such that we put ourselves at risk.
Right. Well, tell me, in North Carolina, can kids now stay in care to 21 if they?
Yeah. So
that
North
kind of
Carolina now has an 18 to 21 program. And in that program, they can continue. They have to, again, be in school or a job. There's a little bit of more leniency in regard to that, simply because of the fact of COVID. There's a little more leniency to it. But they have to maintain one of those things, and they can be in the 18 to 21, and they can live pretty much anywhere where they want to. The only place they cannot live is the home that they were removed from in foster care.
That's
so that means they can be in college, so we can help pay for their dorm fees. They can be living like with an individual like me. I don't necessarily have a foster parent license anymore because I serve this community. I'm not required to have a foster parent license anymore. So they can live with anybody that they choose to, even out of state. They could go out of state and live and still get the funding that they get support of. And it goes to the individual. It doesn't go to the family that they live with. It goes to the individual, because one of the important things we want to do is to teach the individual responsibility with their finances.
Right. That's wonderful. Yeah. Most states are trying to get that implemented. It's some are still working on it though. And I always wonder what happens to those kids. You know, if they're, you know, it's one thing to be in a foster family and be comfortable there and be doing well and turn 18 and then figure out how does licensing look at that so they can stay, right? As an adult, not as a foster anymore. It's totally different when you know, it all ends at 18, like it did for so many of the years that we fostered, and for all the kids actually that we fostered as teenagers before that happened in Texas too. And you know, how we would have to try to look at that, and they would do the same thing. Well, you already have 6 kids in your home. That one can't stay because that's, you can't have. I said, well, but they're 18 now, so they're adult. Can I just change my license so we have an adult who's living here now helping or something, you know? No, we can't do that because we know who that kid is. I mean, it's so unfair. It's so ridiculous.
That's exactly what happened with her.
I mean, absolutely ludicrous thinking, because it's never about the best interest of the kid there. And oftentimes it would, you know, that young person leaving our family was ripping everybody else in the family's hearts out. It was bad for everybody. You know, and that's when I would always look at, like, what are we doing to our kids? Because we've had their hearts just destroyed over and over and over these 27 years because they loved them too. Not every one of them. I got to admit, some of them were real corkers, you know, and it was like, we're through with you till whatever that end is. We're not giving up on you. But that when they did have their permanent plan and moved on to what that was, you know, we all thought, oh boy, it was good timing for that one, you know, or something. So you have to be honest about it, because you just don't mesh with everybody. You don't mesh with your neighbors the same. You don't with your coworkers the same. And when the people who come live with you, it just different because of personalities and needs and things like that. But typically in foster families, you know, it's like, it's one thing if this kid's turning 18 and they're in a foster family, that the family can at least have something to say about, we want you to stay. We're going to figure out how to make that work. We'll challenge the rules, the policies, because usually it's not law, it's policy, right? We did that many times. The reason why my daughter Rhonda was able to stay with us as long as she did as a foster child is because she had the right to graduate from high school before care ended in Texas. And so for her, like I had mentioned to y'all earlier, you know, she was 1 month shy of turning 20 years old when she graduated from high school. Her determination to get a high school diploma was just wonderful. I mean, she was going to make that name, her last name, proud, and she did. And you know, her Medicaid ended at 18. Because that's what the law was. You know, you're in foster care and you turn 18, you don't have Medicaid anymore. You're supposed to be out there on your own, but she couldn't be out there on her own. She was going to school. She had some health care needs. And I know, and those are the things that I guess sometimes get in the way for some families to say, you can stay. I mean, we worked hard and I know one of the things we had to do was she was on a medication that Medicaid paid for. Well, when she got no more Medicaid, guess what? It was $400 a month.
Yep.
And we're talking, you know, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money.
Yep.
And it was like, well, she has to have that. She has to have that medication. Well, there's nobody to pay for it. Well,
Yep.
we did. She had to have it.
Yeah.
You know, the commitment that families have to make, they have to measure, because some families couldn't have done that without that reimbursement check, right? Just like with your mom, got you a phone, paid a phone bill, you know, I mean, those things, because it was important that you be able to talk to her.
Yep.
And I know there are other families out there that do that sort of thing. And but what about those kids that turn 18 and they're turning 18 in group homes and residential treatment centers? Although, who's there for them?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I worry about them all the time, because if they haven't been able to get a mentor or somebody, you know, like you said, that one person, Jodi, that one person that you know will be there for you.
Yeah.
No wonder they're searching and desperate for so long, and couch surfing and all those things. And you know, we always told all of our kids we can have visitors. So, you know.
You know, Irene, one of the things that you and I've talked about is doing a few episodes of this, just kind of talking about some of the different young adults that I've had. And one of the young adults that I want to bring on with us is a young man that he was even banned from social services. He was not allowed to, like, I didn't even know. He and I walked into the social services office and got swarmed with security because I had no idea that he had been banned. And he stole a car from me. He wrecked my car. You know, he did a lot of stuff, but yet he's still a very integral part of my life, and I'm still a very integral part of his. So he's a young man that I really want to bring on with us another time on Coffee with Caregivers.
That'd be great. Yeah,
share a little bit about him.
Wrecked our car too.
Yeah,
where she wasn't supposed
my
to go.
husband's had 3 cars wrecked for 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, we had so many cars get wrecked that our insurance company canceled us, and then trying to get another insurance company was like, their prices were exorbitant. Well, you have all these accidents. Well, we didn't. Well, it was your vehicle they were all driving. You know, been there, done all that. You know, it's like, but they got to learn to drive. They have to get to their flipping burger job. I mean, they have to learn, you know, how to do that stuff. And we lived in the country, so they had like 10 miles to drive to even get to where they were having their jobs. You know, it wasn't like you had a bus out there in the country, or, I mean, we either drove them there and, you know, 5 hours later went midnight and got picking them up, bring them back home, you know, that sort of thing. And as they, you know, showed a little bit more responsibility.
I was Mama Taxi today.
I'm telling you,
then
get the clunker, and you know, we decided no more of our cars, but we'd help you figure out how to get that cheapo clunker that could get you back and forth until you could get a better one, that kind of thing. So we learned the hard way about all those things. Well, ladies, our time is up. Jodi, thank you. I know this was hard for you. Because bringing back the past sometimes hurts, but you know what? sometimes it helps to look at the strong woman you've become.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I'm so proud of you, and
Yeah.
I just met you, and your mom, I know, truly loves you, and her family too. So, you know, again, good endings come, and uh, I'm very proud of who you have become.
Thank
Um,
you.
you're a strong woman, and that's great. And you have feelings, and that's perfect, because we
Yeah.
are supposed to be emotional people, and we're supposed to have feelings for ourselves as well as for others, right?
Right.
So take
Yeah.
care of yourself, okay, while you're taking care of others.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I
Thank you
think
so much, Irene.
yeah, well, thank you all, ladies, and thanks to our audience for hanging on a little bit longer, I think, than we typically go. But I think this was well worth the sharing. And Maurita, I hope that maybe in a month or so, maybe we can schedule another episode with you and one of your sons.
That would be great.
All right. All
Yep.
right, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at United Healthcare. For more information about United Healthcare, please visit www.uhc.com.